In today's video, I'm giving a final update on the Electric Blue Acara breeding project. If you've been following along on the channel, you know I have Electric Blue Acara as my 150-gallon aquarium. A pair formed in this tank and they've been breeding very consistently over the last 6 months or so. And about 20 weeks ago, I intervened and scooped out some fry and put them in a separate grow-out tank. So that's what I'm going to show today, the growth and evolution of this group. The Electric Blue Acara is one of my favorite fish to talk about, so let's dive right in. In my 150-gallon aquarium, I have 5 Electric Blue Acaras, and after about 2 days of this tank running, I had a pair form and they started breeding right away. They had a handful of times where they laid eggs, but they weren't successful in getting the eggs to hatch. But in April and May of this past year, they had been successful and I saw a couple different clouds of fry. I let nature take its course a few times as some of the other cichlids were in this tank, but in one of those instances, I did intervene and scoop out the baby fish. And this happened starting on May 1st. So going back in time about 20 weeks ago on May 1st, that's when I noticed that they laid eggs on this flat surface of the rock. Electric Blue Acaras will usually lay their eggs on a flat surface or dig out a pit in the substrate. This is the favorite spot of my Electric Blue Acaras in this tank, the slanted rock. Once the male fertilized the eggs, a couple days later they moved the eggs over into a different location, which is a little more secure. And I could start seeing the eggs starting to move as the fry were about to hatch. And then on May 5th, about 4 days after they had laid the eggs, I had noticed that they completely hatched and that there was a cloud of fry around the parents. There's probably 100 fry around their parents, and these parents are great at their job. They defend this area of the tank very aggressively, and that's why I might end up separating this pair down the line. I'm going to explain a little bit more towards the end of the video. But then I moved the fry on May 6th by scooping them out with a net. The parents were defending their babies even to the last second there, trying to swim into the net and bring it down. But eventually I got all the fry out and moved into a 10-gallon grow-out tank in my fish room. They were tiny at this point and they really stuck together in a very close group when they were in this tank initially. And then 2 weeks after the eggs had initially been laid on May 14th, they were doing great, putting on some size. They were still really small and you couldn't see their real shape or color coming in yet. I was feeding them some crushed flakes and nano pellets from Extreme, and they were eating really well, and they were just starting to kind of be comfortable and come out of that tight-knit group. And this was about 6 weeks after they were eggs, and they were still very small, but they were eating really well, and they had a little more courage to kind of go explore the tank rather than just staying in that very close ball of fry. And then from week 8 to 10, which is around mid-June, they really started to put on some size and color. You could see the electric blue throughout all of them. But the biggest growth spurt happened within week 10 to 12, which was later in June. And all these guys hit a growth spurt. They had a lot more size and they definitely looked like Electric Blue Acaras at this point. I don't know what caused that growth spurt, whether it was week 10 to 12 is when that normally occurs, or if it was the food or water change schedule, but regardless, they really hit a growth spurt at that point. And then in mid-July, this is some video footage from our Instagram feed where they were definitely putting on more size and color. They were looking like Electric Blue Acaras and they were ready for a bigger tank very soon. And this was the group in late August. They were about 16 weeks old at this point. The Electric Blue coloration was coming in big time and they were looking great. Around this time I started setting up future plans for them moving into a bigger tank for a little bit longer. And this is the group in their bigger new tank and they were looking great. They're enjoying the extra space. And they definitely hit another growth spurt being moved into a bigger tank. This is just after a week in the 20-gallon tank and I swear they hit another growth spurt here. In total, they are 20 weeks old from the point of the parents laying the eggs to right now, and they will likely stay in this 20-gallon tank for just a little bit longer as they get big enough to either sell, give away, or keep in some of my other tanks. This is me moving them from the 10-gallon tank to the 20-gallon tank, which took forever trying to find all the tiny little Electric Blue Acaras. Some of them grew faster than others. There were still a lot of small ones that I had to find all throughout the tank. But after a long process, I finally got all of them out of the 10-gallon and into the new 20-gallon tank. And I think they're in a really good temporary home for the time being. One question I got a lot was if the Electric Blue Acaras were breeding, would all their babies be electric blue? And in this instance, all of them that I've seen are electric blue coloration. So the question you probably have is what I'm going to do with all these Electric Blue Acara babies. I'll likely sell some to local fish stores or to followers that are in our general area. So DM us on Instagram if you're interested in some of these Acara babies. And I'll likely keep some of the Electric Blue Acaras for myself So overall, it's been a really fun breeding project. I didn't intend to do this, but based on how often these two Electric Blue Acaras were breeding, I decided to set this up and kind of go through the process and just enjoy it along the way. I'm not currently set up to be a breeder all the time, so I don't think I'm going to keep this going after this initial batch. I'm likely going to separate the pair from my 150, maybe moving the male into my 180, just because right now it's chaos in my tank all the time as they're trying to breed. They're scaring off all the other fish, and really what should be a peaceful tank isn't quite so peaceful because a third of the tank is being kept by these two Electric Blue Acaras that are breeding. In fact, there's another big cloud of fry in this 150 as we speak, as they just laid eggs again this week, and I really don't feel like pulling out those Electric Blue Acara babies and going through this 20-week process again. I just need the tank space for other projects in the future, so I think it's best that I probably separate this pair to make this tank more peaceful. In the future, I'll probably have more tanks set up, and I might be in a position to start breeding them again. It's definitely something I'm keeping my options open for. As mentioned, it's been really fun watching these little Electric Blue Acaras grow up. It's one of my favorite fish, so it's been cool just to see them in breeding mode and everything that comes along with it. If you have any questions about care or the breeding of Electric Blue Acaras, I'll leave that video down in the description below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so you see those future updates. I'm going to have a video very soon about a lot of changes happening in these two display aquariums, as well as the smaller tanks in the fish room. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow along. We really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.